It is Friday, June 12th, 2020. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was yet another virtual get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday. A little bit of armbar action, kind of sneaky action to getting to the armbar. Personally, I did not actually do a lot of the repping or anything like that. I'm a little bit injured at the moment. I don't know what it is about this yard that I live in, but even before this house was here, my parents owned this property, and before they moved this house here, this yard was it was one of those things you could not walk across this yard without twisting the shit out of your ankle. It doesn't matter whether there was cows here or not. I mean, because at one time this was a pasture, had a whole bunch of cows in it, and during the rainy season, you know, the cows would be walking around, and the consistency of the soil out here is such that, you know, if it gets too wet, it's like some sort of fudge. It's like if you were to make fudge with super glue, right? And then you walk in it and you step in it, and like your foot goes down about a foot in it, and then it super glues to your foot, and then when you go to take your foot out, your shoe gets stuck down in it. And anyway, so like the effect of that is that, like, you know, the cows are walking around on it while it's drying, and so there's these huge holes, and they're all about like a foot or so deep, and they're a little bit bigger around than your foot. So, you know, you'll be walking along, and of course the grass is the same height all the way across, so you don't see it coming, man. You just bury your foot straight in there. Next thing you know, your toes are touching your shins, and you're in a lot of pain. Well, that happened to me the other day, and so I've been taking it a little easier, and it's pissing me off because I'm right at this threshold, man, where if I could get on another good stride, I mean, I'm getting as low in body fat content as I have ever been. And so it's like any little setback like this is costing me wind, it's costing me muscle, and I just want to get back to fucking training, man. You know, I got all these fucking confidence issues to begin with, you know, and then it's like I go through all that work over the last 3 years and such, and the governor just gets to fucking utter a word, and I'm homebound and stuck out here. Give me a fucking break, man. I think that's something that's gonna get fucking major revision in reflection of what's gone on since the shit down, which I've taken to calling it instead of the shutdown. I don't know what to think of it. I'll be honest. I think that on the periphery, at least, on the observable stuff, on the outside of things, it seems to me that we've been running up to this big fucking chasm in the economy between stuff that's been made, money that was borrowed to make that stuff, and the economic demand for the stuff producing enough income for people to pay off their liabilities and make money. And see, I think the amount of money to be made has been getting sucked out more and more along the way via licensure and taxation and whatnot. That I'm starting to think like that our state and federal legislatures being so very, very short-sighted about their actual needs and what they could reasonably expect to draw from the organic economy to fund it. And I think the problem is that, you know, they dream up all these wonderful little projects. You know, we got to get for sexual inclusion and racial inclusion and inclusion and trying to recognize all these little things and do all these little special favors for everybody, you know, based on their suffering or whatever. That, you know, we've had to generate a budget to pay for all this shit, right? Well, you know, the problem is that money the imagination of legislators about where money can be reasonably drawn from and what it can be reasonably dedicated to, and whether or not it'll actually yield a positive income or a positive outcome for that matter. It's like, these are just like completely alien concerns to these people. They look at it and they say, "Oh, there's a mass of money. We better grab a hold of that so we can spend it on the black people. Yes, we'll spend it on black people, and that'll make them happy." And it's like, not thinking about, okay, so we've done that, we've made them happy, but now what? We got to keep making them happy. Well, that was kind of a one-time thing. We could only really afford it that one time. Oh no, we'll make it annual. That will annually pull that money out of wherever it came from and make the black people happy with it. Or make the gay people happy with it. Or the white people for that matter. Or the straight people. And all the while, though, we're taking away from general fun things. Things that went to like the school budget, and things that went to like parks and recreation. The whole point of going and busting your ass there at work for 5 days a week is so you can spend 2 days a week out at the park and fucking enjoying yourself, right? Maybe living a little bit of your life for you, right? Well, I think that what's been going on is that, people have just taken it for granted that you're going to show up at a place and you are going to dedicate your life, time from your life, to making stuff for people or doing a service for people. You're going to do that because we say you're going to do that. Well, I think that the majority of the economy, a lot of the economy, has found other ways to fund itself. Or is trying to find other ways to fund itself that doesn't involve all that friction, because they can't afford all the little special programs that don't just apply to Americans. No, they apply to half Mexican, half black gay Americans. And that's it. Everybody else can go fuck themselves, right? Well, like I said, I think that we were on this path of trying to make everybody happy with little recognitions here and little stokeouts there and little subsidizations there. And the product is people that think that you can do that you can run an economy on little subsidies here and there, and we can just micromanage the entire economy, give you just enough money to get by, and then I'll have enough money to piss away on assistance dog walkers, and make everybody employed and everybody happy. And it looks wonderful on paper. It really does. Except when the real world organic economy is not spending enough money in enough of the places that you need it to for the taxes to be drawn to fund everything. And I really think we ran out of money to fund things because we've been borrowing money to fund things, because all of the little architects, they were all fucking wrong in all of their projections. People didn't smoke as many cigarettes. Why? Because the 15% tax was enough to get 20% of people to quit smoking. And so whatever appreciable gain we would have had, we lost. And the same thing with gas taxes. People were sick of paying $4 a gallon of gasoline. They quit driving. They figured out another way to fucking make money that didn't involve driving to and from work. And we lost the fucking gas taxes. Oh my God, where the fuck are we going to come up with that money? We were gonna get it from fishing licenses, because we sold 10 million of those last year. But we made coming to our state so fucking onerous, and the fishing licenses from $20 to $45 pissed off so many people they don't want to fucking visit us this summer. And so 5 million of those people didn't visit us and spend money here and buy fishing licenses here. Oh my God, what the fuck are we going to do about that budgetary shortfall? And see, what I'm talking about has been happening throughout the economy at one point, in another point, in another point, in another point. And it's because your government cannot fucking trust you to dedicate your funds as you see fit. You know, it's like they look at the funds that are being spent on things like fishing, and they say, oh, you know, millions and millions of dollars being spent on fishing every year. We got to tap some of that money so that we can pay for Medicare for everybody. Now, it's not that everybody wants Medicare. It's they want to give everybody Medicare because they make kickbacks off of the fucking drug companies and the manufacturers of medical equipment and shit like that. You know, but the relationship, the return on investment is so finite. I mean, they can always argue for fucking healthcare for everybody. I mean, it's heartstrings kind of stuff, man. They can always argue for it, but they can never tell you how they're going to fucking pay for it. And like I said, I think that we've been trying to fulfill these promises, man, of this wonderful society, and we're going to borrow here, and we're going to pay it off there, and we're going to borrow here and pay it off, and it never gets paid off. They get the money, and it gets pissed away on whatever else, and, you know, they only hope that they can get funding for it again next year. Well, I think next year stopped coming, and it probably stopped coming last year, if not a year before. And it's just that our supply chains for a lot of things span 12 to fucking 18 months from manufacturer to shelf. And so we've been bobbling along on that drift. And we haven't been manufacturing anything. We've been too busy fucking protesting. You know, where our state and city government hasn't literally prohibited us from working. We've been taking the time and enjoying it for ourselves. Well, you know, that too will come to an end. And I think that when it does, people are in for a fucking rude awakening about a lot of shit. You know, specifically, a lot of the tax burdens that we developed that are simply unfunded mandates. And I think that the urge, the need for taxation is not going to go away. And because of that, because we still need the money, they're going to start looking to other places for it. So, you know, they're going to start looking more towards gas taxes and telecommunications taxes. Well, I don't think we're going to even make it that far. I mean, we're far enough along now in the cycle, assuming what I've been saying is the actual condition of things, that Seattle, once a booming economy, with all kinds of manufacturing jobs and everything like that, it's turned into a shithole. Part of it has literally been taken over by socialists who are now begging people to give them money and give them material goods and items. And these are things that they themselves are not making, will never have the capability of making. But they think that they're going to exist there as some leech on a tit, and that people are going to tolerate that for an extended period of time. I am willing to posit to you that the only reason they aren't out on their asses already is because, according to the city budget, they couldn't afford to have that fucking precinct anymore. The tax base had shrunk so much from people moving and disapproving of the local politics being modified right around their feet, that they simply pulled stakes and bailed. And so, you know, the state is left on the hook for, you know, or the city at least, we gotta employ these cops, we gotta pay for these cops, we gotta pay for the fucking electricity for this building, and, you know, for right now, because there are enough people that are actually paying rent in those 6 city blocks that they basically just gave over to the socialists. There are enough people there that are still paying taxes and whatnot that it's okay. You know, they couldn't afford to keep the cops there anymore, so they just let the socialists take over the building. But eventually, they're going to stop paying electricity for that building. They're going to stop paying for gas for that building. They're going to stop servicing it with water. Because these are actual costs. These are real world costs. They don't just come out of nowhere. And I believe the rest of those in Seattle anyway, they're just going to be sick of paying for that shit. They're going to be like, no, shut it off. Shut it down. And if they don't abandon by that, I think that's probably going to be the end of it, is if the electricity or the water gets shut off to the building, those people are going to bail like rats. You know, the fact of the matter is they're not producing anything. They're not even producing good citizens. And as such, as with any other bottleneck, any other inefficiency in a manufacturing line, they're going to get cut out of it. And, you know, I mean, it's sad to say, because you got all these wonderful dreams behind it, you know, of equality, you know. That's excellent aspirations, but you can't make other people do it. They got to do it for themselves. Now, anyway, let's go ahead and throw down with some music. And as far as where to go, I'm feeling that something off of Body Count, or something off of Body Count's latest album. And, yeah, you know, Antifa already figured this one out, and I feel like they're probably going to find it out again. But here it is. Body Count, Bum Rush, First Dance, here on Coin Metal. And that was Death Clock with Go Forth and Die. Sorry about that. I let it run a little bit over, but you know, I got entangled with this dude in a conversation, and I had to run with it, because you know, he was there and I was there, and you know, he seemed to be under this illusion that there's some sort of safety out there, and I was trying to disabuse him of that. It's a lesson we're all going to learn again and again and again and again and again. I mean, you know, people want to like pretend that they can, you know, get around that reality, but it's not so. It's not so. You know, no government can make you any safer, you know. And I mean, we've seen this. How many times have you seen this in crypto? How many times, man? I mean, like, when you look back at, say, Mt. Gox, if they weren't able to find those funds, what's the likelihood that anybody would have gotten theirs back? And there are people still waiting on their funds being dispersed to them, because they have not yet been. But, you know, it's like, this is the earliest instance that most of us are acquainted with regard to people getting cheated out of their crypto, you know, because of negligence or stupidity or whatever, or greed, or whatever you want to really attribute it to with regard to the Mt. Gox failure. But regardless, the fact of the matter is a vast majority of people that saw their funds disappear on that hack have yet to have their fucking funds repatriated to them, in part or in full. So, you know, the idea... Oh, wait a minute. I have figured out just now where we're going to go with that. But anyway, it's just... It's hilarious to me that with these examples, and we've seen it before, it's nothing we're not used to seeing. Despite these smoldering piles of ashes laying around us, people want to assume that there's some sort of safety out there. You know, I'm sorry, it's not. There's habit. That's what you've got. You've got habit. It's not safety, it's habit. You're used to doing it. You know, it's like you're used to trusting some process, you're used to trusting some entity, you're used to it. It's something that you're comfortable with. It doesn't necessarily make it reality, though. And I think that's the greatest danger that we face in crypto, is that people do make that mistake. They want to trust, and there's no reason not to want to trust. But the fact is you can't, which is why we have the ability to verify. You know, if there wasn't a need for the ability to verify, why would we bother with mining? You know, I mean, it seems like a big waste of electricity, a big waste of energy if there isn't actually a need for it, right? Well, as this article I'm sure will prove, humans are not above making stupid decisions and even malicious ones. But this one, it happened a while ago, and if you've been a part of this space for any duration of time, when you were viewing this, you could see a lot of mistakes that would have been learned if the same people had been involved back in like 2013, 2014, that they would not have made. There would have been some smell tests that this particular venture would not have been able to pass, at least for the individual investor. And it wouldn't have gotten as far as it did. Anyway, this is on Bitcoin.com or news.bitcoin.com. It's by Kevin Helms, so yes, penis. And this is authored approximately 11 hours ago. Canadian regulator unveils the truth behind collapsed crypto exchange QuadrigaCX. The Ontario's Securities Commission, OSC, has completed its investigation of what happened to the defunct cryptocurrency exchange QuadrigaCX, which owes over 76,000 clients a combined $215 million in assets. Supposedly deceased, its founder, Gerald Cotton, was found to have committed a series of frauds. The regulator details. QuadrigaCX fraud, exchange owes 76,000. Yeah, okay, we got that part. The Ontario Securities Commission has spent 10 months investigating what happened to the QuadrigaCX cryptocurrency exchange. The regulator published a 33-page report of its findings on Thursday. The Canadian crypto exchange announced on January 14, 2019 that CEO Gerald Cotton had died while on honeymoon in India with his wife Jennifer Robertson. Noting that, quote, over 76,000 clients were owed a combined $215 million in assets, Ernst & Young, the bankruptcy trustee was able to recover or identify just $46 million in assets to pay out to clients. The OSC staff detailed. The downfall of crypto asset trading platform Quadriga resulted from a fraud committed by Quadriga's co-founder and CEO, Gerald Cotton. The OSC staff found that Cotton, quote, spent, traded, and used at will the assets clients deposited with QuadrigaCX. Quote, Cotton was able to misuse client assets for years, unchecked and undetected, ultimately bringing down the entire platform, the staff's report details. The Quadriga exchange was co-founded by Cotton and Michael Patron in 2013. It was incorporated in British Columbia with Cotton as the sole director. Patron was convicted in the U.S. as a money laundering case in 2015 under his prior name, Omar Danani. He left Quadriga in 2016, leaving Cotton with complete control of the platform. The OSC staff found most of the $169 million asset shortfall, approximately $115 million, quote, resulted from Cotton's fraudulent conduct, which took several forms. Cotton, quote, opened Quadriga accounts under aliases and credited himself with fictitious currency and crypto asset balances, which he traded with unsuspecting Quadriga clients, the OSC staff described. Quote, he sustained real losses when the price of crypto assets changed, thereby creating a shortfall in assets to satisfy client withdrawals. Cotton covered this shortfall with other clients' deposits, the staff continued. In effect, this meant that Quadriga operated like a Ponzi scheme. Cotton also lost an additional $28 million while trading client assets on 3 external cryptocurrency trading platforms without authorization from or disclosure to clients, the OSC staff further added, elaborating, quote, "He also misappropriated millions in client assets to fund his lifestyle. In its final months, Quadriga had almost no assets left and was operating like a revolving door. New client deposits were immediately rerouted to fund other clients' withdrawals." However, many believe that Cotton is still alive and faked his death as an exit scam. Some have called for an exhumation and autopsy of his body. The platform ceased operations by February 5th and filed for creditor protection. The complete OSC report on Quadriga can be found here, which we are now going to go to. This should be illuminating. Yeah, the thing about this is that these guys were quote-unquote regulated. They were fully licensed. And so it's like, oh, what the fuck? Let's see here. Hold on a second. Oh my god, because of regulation in Japan. Yeah, whatever. People are so silly. I can't engage in this. Let's go. Go back and back and back. Let's go to this report if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. This is really interesting. Yeah, this is on osc.gov.on.ca / Quadriga report. And this is a review by staff of the Ontario Securities Commission. Contents, executive summary, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how much of this we're actually going to cover. It honestly doesn't look all that long, so I think we can cover all of it. Even though it says it's 32 pages. That's weird. Anyway. Let's go for it. Executive summary. The downfall of crypto asset trading platform Quadriga resulted from a fraud committed by Quadriga's co-founder and CEO, Gerald Cotton. Clients entrusted their assets to Quadriga, which provided false assurances that those assets would be safeguarded. In reality, Cotton spent, traded, and used those assets at will, operating without any proper system of oversight or internal controls. Cotton was able to misuse client assets for years, unchecked and undetected, ultimately bringing down the entire platform. And now mind you, these people were licensed. They had gotten their license to operate as an exchange in Ontario, Canada. Continuing on. The collapse of Quadriga caused massive losses for investors from Canada and around the world. On January 14, 2019, Quadriga announced that Cotton had died in India in the previous month. By February 5th, the Quadriga platform had ceased operations and filed for creditor protection. Over 76,000 clients were owed a combined $215 million in assets. Approximately 40% of those clients were Ontarians. Ernst & Young, the bankruptcy trustee, was able to recover or identify just $46 million in assets to pay out to clients. The people who trusted Quadriga with their money and crypto assets collectively lost $169 million. Staff of the Ontario Securities Commission undertook a review of Quadriga's business operations to determine how the platform was run, what caused the collapse, and where the money went. Over a period of approximately 10 months, a multidisciplinary team of enforcement branch staff analyzed trading and blockchain data, interviewed key witnesses, and collaborated with numerous regulatory bodies in Canada and abroad. It has been widely speculated that the bulk of investor losses resulted from crypto assets becoming lost or inaccessible as a result of Cotton's death. In our assessment, this was not the case. The evidence demonstrates that most of the $169 million asset shortfall resulted from Cotton's result of fraudulent conduct, which took several forms. The bulk of the asset shortfall, approximately $115 million, arose from Cotton's fraudulent trading on the Quadriga platform. Cotton opened Quadriga accounts under aliases and credited themselves with fictitious currency and crypto asset balances, which he traded with unsuspecting Quadriga clients. He sustained real losses when the price of the crypto assets changed, thereby creating a shortfall in assets to satisfy client withdrawals. Cotton covered this shortfall with other clients' deposits. In effect, this meant Quadriga operated like a Ponzi scheme. Let's see here. Cotton lost an additional $28 million while trading client assets on 3 external crypto asset trading platforms without authorization from or disclosure to clients. He also misappropriated millions in client assets to fund his lifestyle. In its final months, Quadriga had almost no assets left and was operating like a revolving door. New client deposits were immediately rerouted to fund other clients' withdrawals. What happened at Quadriga was an old-fashioned fraud wrapped in modern technology. There is nothing new about Ponzi schemes, unauthorized trading with client funds, and misappropriating assets. Crypto asset trading platforms, however, are novel, and the regulatory framework for these platforms is evolving and won't fucking help you any. That was my addition. Quadriga did not consider its business to involve securities trading and did not register with any securities regulator. I'm not entirely certain on that. I think they did have some regulation at some point. This lack of registration facilitated Cotton's ability to commit a large-scale fraud without detection. So did the absence of internal oversight over Cotton. From 2016 onwards, Cotton was in sole control of a company that had hundreds of thousands of clients, transacted over $1 billion of fiat currency-denominated assets, and over 5 million crypto asset units. He ran the business as he saw fit with no proper system of internal oversight or controls or proper books and records. Similarly, Quadriga clients could not have known what Cotton was doing. Under the Quadriga business model, clients entrusted their money and crypto assets to Quadriga. Quadriga provided no meaningful insight into how those assets were being stored, moved, or spent. To the contrary, Quadriga provided false assurances about asset storage. Clients had no means of verifying these claims or obtaining meaningful information about the handling of their assets. This lack of transparency also facilitated Cotton's fraud. Under normal circumstances, these findings would likely have led to an enforcement action against Cotton or Quadriga. However, this is not practical given that Cotton is deceased and Quadriga is bankrupt, with its assets subject to a court-supervised distribution process. Nevertheless, we believe it is in the public interest to share our findings with the public to help investors understand what happened to Quadriga and hopefully prevent this type of situation from reoccurring. The misconduct we uncovered in relation to Quadriga is limited to Quadriga and should not be understood as applying to the crypto asset platforms industry as a whole. Properly conducted crypto asset trading is a legitimate and important component of our capital markets. God damn, have they ever changed their fucking tune? We remain committed to working with this industry to foster innovation. Financial innovation has always been critical to the health of our economy and the competitiveness of our capital markets. It is equally critical that investors have confidence to access new technologies and platforms that drive this innovation and competition. To that end, the investing public should be aware that using crypto asset trading platforms carries risks, and many crypto asset trading platforms are not registered and have taken the position that they are not required to register with securities regulators. And I agree with that position 100% because it doesn't really fucking matter if they are regulated, as we are all going to find out sooner or later. Continuing. Anyone considering entrusting assets to a crypto asset trading platform should take steps to learn about the platform's operations and approach to risk management prior to using it. This may not be possible with the current level of disclosure offered by some platforms. Platform operators should be aware that, depending on their business model, they may have to register with the OSC, and they should take appropriate steps to comply with Ontario's securities laws. For guidance, platform operators should go to blah 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 website. Purpose of the report. And you know, we're gonna. I don't know if we should go to find. No, I don't know. We'll just go with purpose of the report. Given the magnitude of Quadriga's downfall, the harm done to Ontarians, and the novel issues surrounding crypto asset trading platforms, OSC enforcement staff announced in February 2019 that it would look into the matter. OSC enforcement staff have the power to investigate and prosecute suspected violations of Ontario securities law. Enforcement investigations can lead to public hearings before the OSC tribunal and public decisions explaining the facts of the case. In this case, however, we concluded it would not be in the public interest to bring an enforcement proceeding before the OSC tribunal against Cotton or Quadriga. Cotton, the sole officer and directing mind of the corporation, is deceased. Quadriga has ceased operations, and its assets are subject to a court-supervised bankruptcy proceeding. The accounting firm Ernst & Young was appointed as trustee and monitor in the bankruptcy and insolvency proceedings and has been engaged in identifying and recovering assets to be distributed to affected Quadriga clients. In contrast, our review focused on how the Quadriga platform operated, what happened to clients' assets, and the causes of the $169 million asset shortfall, and the implication of the securities laws. Protecting investors and fostering confidence in our capital markets are key elements of the OSC's mandate. Protecting investors and fostering confidence in our capital markets are key elements in the OSC's mandate. In this case, our mandate is best fulfilled by sharing enforcement staff's findings publicly. Typically, staff investigations become public through a proceeding, and findings are made by an independent decision-maker weighing evidence during that public hearing. This situation is unique. While public release of a report of this nature is rarely done, we believe that making this review in the facts widely available may help prevent this type of situation from reoccurring. This report outlines events from Quadriga's inception to its eventual collapse. We focus on Quadriga's operations, particularly its handling of client assets, analyze Cotton's trading, and assess statements made to clients in Quadriga's communications and by Cotton himself about platform operations. We also discuss how, in our assessment, the Quadriga platform involved in trading in securities. We also outline regulatory considerations for crypto asset investors and crypto asset trading platforms. Let's see how we conduct. I don't know. I think I want to skip to the findings, because we can do how they conducted their review. Supposedly, this whole thing is 33 pages long. It's very short. I think a lot of the page volume is including the format of it. Because there are large blocks that aren't actually text. It's just window dressing of the PDF. Anyway, continuing on. OSC staff collected documentary, digital, and witness evidence from both domestic and international sources and spent months analyzing this data. We engaged internal or external blockchain experts to assist us in analyzing the movement of assets to and from Quadriga. As our powers to collect evidence are limited outside of Ontario, we relied on our regulatory partners to help us collect evidence in other jurisdictions. We sought assistance from a dozen other regulatory bodies, which enabled us to uncover important information from outside of Ontario to assist in our review. We interviewed and obtained documentary evidence from witnesses across a number of Canadian and foreign jurisdictions. During our review, we interviewed and obtained documentary evidence from jurisdictions. Interviews were conducted by phone, video conference, or in person at the OSC's offices in Toronto. Certain key interviews were conducted in other jurisdictions. We interviewed key individuals associated with Quadriga and Cotton, including former Quadriga contractors and professional advisors. We also received evidence from Cotton's spouse, Jennifer Robertson, as well as several affected clients who reached out to the OSC to share their stories. We also attempted to contact Michael Patron, one of Quadriga's co-founders. However, Patron did not respond to our attempts to contact him. The evidence indicated that Patron ceased to be associated with Quadriga after 2016, and that the majority of client funds were deposited with Quadriga after Patron's departure. Based on the evidence we reviewed, Quadriga did not maintain proper accounting records from 2016 onward. There may have been company records accessible only to Cotton, and we did not access or review encrypted devices owned by Cotton. By court order, Ernst & Young was authorized to hand these devices over to the RCMP. However, none of the witnesses, including key Quadriga personnel, reported being aware of Quadriga books or records beyond those which we have reviewed. Similarly, based on the evidence we reviewed and witness testimony, Quadriga did not have any proper system of internal controls and supervision over any aspect of its operations. Quadriga did not maintain proper financial records and relied on third-party payment processors to process deposits and withdrawals to and from the platform. We gathered and analyzed records from these and other entities to reconstruct Quadriga's affairs. We obtained a significant volume of records from third parties such as banks and payment processors to build a deep understanding of Quadriga's handling of fiat currencies, currencies backed by national governments like the Canadian dollar. We compelled platform data and thousands of Quadriga-related emails from Ernst & Young pursuant to a summons. The platform data we analyzed relates to over 368,000 client accounts and over 6 million individual transactions, including deposits, withdrawals, and trades. This transaction data includes detailed information such as date and time, asset type, price, and the client accounts involved. Our analysis, with the results of which are discussed later in this report, included calculating a running asset balance for each account, determining the daily cumulative effect of Cotton's trading with fake assets, and reviewing the overall trading to understand how clients interacted with the platform and trends over time. In order to determine how Cotton managed client assets entrusted to Quadriga, we analyzed blockchain transaction data and obtained records from several other crypto trading asset platforms. Tracing assets moving through these platforms carries inherent challenges. For instance, despite the transparency virtues associated with blockchain transactions being posted to a public ledger, the wallet addresses of senders and recipients in these transactions are generally anonymous. In contrast, bank accounts are connected with identifiable individuals and corporations, making it easier to see who has sent and received funds. In addition, we sought records from 3 other crypto asset trading platforms, but experienced jurisdictional hurdles that resulted in us not obtaining this evidence. Despite these challenges, we confirmed that Cotton moved Quadriga client assets to other crypto asset trading platforms, where he then traded with these assets. Through our review, we gained insight into Quadriga's operations, analyzed Cotton's covert trading with clients on the platform, and calculated that this trading caused the bulk of the $169 million asset shortfall. And so, let me see here. Go back. Because previously it seemed like there was a findings part on here. Let's see here. Purpose of the report. Skip to findings, yeah. And you know what? We'll actually cover this section, the most important aspect of it, on the other side of the music break. But for right now, I want to go ahead and throw back down into some music, because I need to get some water in me. And as far as where to start, though, I think we should go with a little bit of Static X. And there's a song on here, and for the longest time I'd heard it once or twice, and I'd figure out what album it was on, and then I would lose it, and then I would find it out again, and then I would lose it. And the last time I figured it out, I immediately, because I love this song so much, I immediately went and bought the album. So here it is, Static X, Down, here on Coin Metal. And that was Within the Ruins, Feeding Frenzy. Yeah, it's just doing a little market research, deciding if I want to put in a buy order for a certain thing. And no, I'm not going to tell you what it is, because that would probably violate some sort of SEC violation or some shit. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't want to find out. Anyway, as far as what we were into, let's go ahead and get back into this thing. I think for the most part, my thing might be over for the moment. Anyway, this is on osc.gov.on.ca, and we're down into the Quadriga's launch and platform operations. So I guess this is the findings section of the report. Let's see here. Here we go. Establishment of Quadriga. Quadriga launched in December of 2013. According to Cotton, its 25-year-old founder and CEO, it met a need in Canada's burgeoning crypto space. Canadians wanted to buy Bitcoin, but there was no easy way to do it. In late 2013, just before Quadriga launched, Bitcoin was experiencing its first bull run, reaching values well over $1,000 from under $100 at the start of the year. Quadriga presented itself as a platform for Canadians to access Bitcoin and other crypto assets. Initially, Quadriga clients could fund their accounts solely with Canadian dollars or Bitcoin, then trade their assets for the assets of other Quadriga clients. The platform allowed customers to make deposits and withdrawals in Canadian dollars, making it easier for Canadian customers to invest in Bitcoin. Quadriga derived its revenue from fees charged to buyers and sellers on the trading platform. Fees ranged from 0.2 to 0.5% of the value of each trade and were deducted from clients' trade proceeds. In most cases, clients were also charged fees for funding or withdrawing from their accounts. The first year of Quadriga's operations saw steady growth of its client base despite a drop in Bitcoin prices to well below those of late 2013. By the end of 2014, assets in Quadriga accounts totaled approximately 3,600 Bitcoin and $2 million in Canadian dollars and 400,000 US dollars. Quadriga's principles. Cotton, then a recent business school graduate, incorporated Quadriga in British Columbia in 2013 and named himself as its sole director. Quadriga's corporate documentation described Cotton, quote, as an early entrant into this field who had been, quote, involved in the so-called alternative payment space for 11 years. In late 2014, Cotton moved from British Columbia back to Ontario, and in mid-2016, he and Robertson, his future spouse, moved to Nova Scotia. Cotton ran the business from wherever he happened to be, whether he was at home or traveling. Cotton co-founded Quadriga with Patron, who was involved with Quadriga from its inception in 2013 until 2016. Patron had been convicted in 2005 in the United States of conspiracy to transfer identification documents in relation to an online money laundering service under his prior name, Omar Damani. Following Patron's departure from Quadriga in 2016, Cotton ran Quadriga by himself and retained complete control over the company's fiat and crypto assets. He presided over a team of contractors, all of whom worked remotely on tasks that included maintaining the technical aspects of the platform, verifying account IDs, and responding to customer inquiries. Responsibilities were siloed. Cotton was the only person controlling Quadriga's operations. As one Quadriga contractor put it, quote, Gary was the gatekeeper. Everything had to go through him. Quadriga's clients. Over 95% of Quadriga's clients with an identified residency were Canadian. At first, Quadriga's active client base grew relatively slowly, But between 2016 and 2017, it increased by almost 2,000%. The vast majority of clients deposited either Canadian dollars or Bitcoin to trade on the platform, and the majority of trades were between these two assets. Quadriga clients had varying levels of crypto asset experience and knowledge. The most active clients transacted hundreds of millions of dollars in assets and completed thousands of trades. Some clients were sophisticated crypto asset traders employing complex arbitrage trading strategies using automated bots that could analyze market activity and trade faster than a human. Others had simply heard about profits their friends had made from rising crypto asset prices and did not want to miss out on the opportunity. Some of Quadriga's clients were so unfamiliar with the crypto asset market that they depended on Quadriga to answer basic questions about crypto assets and crypto asset trading. Some clients transferred crypto assets to the platform as a means of exchanging different fiat currencies. Through speaking with Quadriga clients and analyzing their platform activity, we observed that some clients approached Quadriga from a perspective of trust and believed that there were safeguards in place similar to those applicable to regulated financial institutions. For example, a Quadriga client who was unable to withdraw approximately $40,000 from the platform in December 2018 explained that while he was using Quadriga, he thought it was monitored, protected, and guaranteed by the government. He did not consider that if something went wrong with the platform, he could lose all of his money. Some clients felt that Quadriga was trustworthy in part because it was a Canadian company. One individual whose attempts to withdraw approximately $200,000 from his account on the platform failed said, "It never came across my mind that something like this would ever happen in Canada," while another explained, quote, "It's a Canadian company, and I'm a Canadian, so I felt comfortable." Clients may also have believed that the use of blockchain technology makes platforms more transparent and therefore safer. Client behavior on the platform also spoke to their trust in Quadriga. While some clients withdrew their assets from the platform shortly after making a trade, approximately 68% of active clients kept assets on the platform for over 30 days, and 53% kept assets on the platform for at least 90 days. This suggests that many clients believed that their platform assets were safe and available for them to withdraw whenever they were ready. Yeah. And so, let's get into Quadriga's launch and platform operations. I want to try and get to the findings section, because it seems like this section is way bigger than the rest, and I don't know that it fully educates exactly what we wanted to know. And growth of Quadriga, findings, blah, 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 blah. And downfall. And here we go. Alright, let's go ahead and skip back one section. And so we're going to, I kind of skipped ahead just a teeny tiny, and I moved on to the downfall of Quadriga. And this is for 2018. The crypto market bottoms out and cotton faces a cash crunch. As 2017 was a year of highs for crypto asset prices, 2018 was a year of lows. Bitcoin prices peaked around mid-December of 2017 and then began to plummet. A few weeks later, Ether prices followed suit. The crypto price drop gutted the value of Cotton's Ether holdings, Ether he had purchased with fake dollars and fake Bitcoin, Although Cotton's short Bitcoin positions were profiting from falling Bitcoin prices, his Ether positions were much larger overall. Cotton's holdings were suffering heavy losses. Demand for crypto was slowing, and Quadriga's clients were cashing out. Through his Chris Marquet account, Cotton stepped in using fake Canadian dollars to act as a counterparty to clients looking to sell their crypto assets for Canadian dollars. However, he had to find real Canadian dollars to pay for the client's subsequent withdrawals. This proved to be difficult because, for months, Cotton had been misappropriating client assets both to fund withdrawals and to pay personal expenses. As a result, Cotton was running dangerously short of Canadian dollars, American dollars, and crypto assets. Payment processor troubles. Around the same time, in January 2018, the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, CIBC, froze accounts connected to Billerfee, one of Quadriga's main payment processors. This rendered $26 million in Quadriga's clients' funds inaccessible. Litigation related to the frozen funds continued throughout 2018, and the frozen funds remained unavailable to Quadriga during that time. These funds were eventually released to the payment processor and later transferred to Ernst & Young after Cotton's death. Quadriga may have also lost access to funds held with an offshore payment processor. Records in respect of this payment processor showed an account balance of $12 million as of April of 2018, composed of Canadian dollar account with a balance of 9 million Canadian dollars and an American dollar account with a balance of $2.5 million. Quadriga contractors recalled that at some point this payment processor stopped communicating with Quadriga. After Cotton's death, the payment processor reported to Ernst & Young that it held a near zero balance for Quadriga. Ernst & Young reported on June 19, 2019, that the payment processor did not provide any documentation to support this assertion. We did not see records establishing what became of the $12 million of that money, or that the money had been returned to Quadriga. We sought information from this company through multiple channels, but it has provided us with no documents. Around the same time as the CIBC account freeze, Quadriga began struggling to fulfill withdrawal requests. Cotton publicly blamed the withdrawal problems on the asset freeze, but this was a small part of a much larger asset shortfall caused mainly by Cotton's fraudulent trading. Quadriga plunges into financial crisis. By early 2018, clients were flooding Reddit with complaints about delays in receiving funds. The media began publishing stories about clients whose funds were missing or whose transactions took weeks or months to process. Cotton dismissed concerns, generally blaming the CIBC account freeze or the clients themselves rather than Quadriga's own processes or problems. At the time, a Quadriga representative told the media that none of its customers had ever lost money due to a funding or withdrawal issue. By March 2018, Cotton was operating Quadriga like a revolving door. In reality, Quadriga's financial situation was dire, and assets held on the platform were dwindling. By March 2018, Cotton was operating Quadriga like a revolving door. Canadian dollars, American dollars, and crypto assets. Crypto assets deposited by clients to fund their accounts were immediately rerouted to fund withdrawals by other clients. However, with the flood of withdrawal requests, the outflow of real assets, especially Canadian dollars, from the platform greatly outweighed the inflow of real assets. In an effort to keep up with the demand for withdrawals, Cotton was also selling off the platform's remaining crypto assets, cashing them in at the prevailing low market prices. He also transferred back to Quadriga some of the $24 million he had previously transferred to himself and Robertson for personal use. Between August and December of 2018, Cotton transferred approximately $10 million from his personal bank account to a payment processor, which distributed it to clients. Cotton was also selling off the platform's remaining crypto assets, cashing them in at the prevailing low market prices. The following chart shows the discrepancy between Quadriga's assets and liabilities, with crypto assets valued at their Canadian dollar equivalent from May 2017 to early 2019. It should be noted that while the difference between the assets and the liabilities amounts drops during 2018, this is mainly due to the decrease in crypto asset prices. We estimate, regardless of crypto asset prices, Quadriga was unlikely to return to a solvent financial position. Not very likely to return to solvency there, looking at the chart. In October of 2018, Robertson and Cotton got married in a small, private ceremony in Scotland. They made plans to honeymoon in India, where they were funding the construction of an orphanage. In early December, while already in India, Cotton made 2 transfers totaling $500,000 from his personal account to fund client withdrawals. Shortly thereafter, he and Robertson checked into the ultra-luxury Oberoi Hotel in Jaipur, India. Cotton's death exposes Quadriga's dire financial situation. Cotton died in India on December 9, 2018, while on his honeymoon. New directors were appointed who decided to suspend activities on Quadriga's platform. The Quadriga website reported that it was offline. Cotton's death and the ensuing efforts to locate assets exposed the extent of Quadriga's problems. It was widely believed that the bulk of the asset shortfall was due to lost or inaccessible private keys. However, this was not the case. As previously described, Quadriga was already in crisis before Cotton's death, and most likely would have collapsed even if Cotton had lived. By the time of his death, the platform owed approximately $215 million to clients, but had almost no assets to cover these liabilities. By November of 2016, Cotton had injected so many fake assets into the platform that its eventual insolvency was all but assured. However, it was ultimately shut down by the new directors. Quadriga never stopped accepting new clients and new deposits, even while teetering on the brink of collapse. And where did the funds go? Let's take a good look. When Quadriga filed for creditor protection on February 5, 2019, it owed its clients assets worth collectively $215 million. The monitor only recovered or identified $46 million of assets, leaving a $169 million shortfall. Amounts owed to affected clients at bankruptcy, $215 million. Let's see, $46 million of recovered or identified missing source trading. $28 million is trading losses sustained by Cotton on external platforms, and then $23 million was other. $115 million was trading losses sustained by Cotton on the Quadriga exchange. And so number 1, assets returned or recovered or identified by the monitor/trustee As of June 2019, Ernst & Young had recovered or identified $34 million of Quadriga's assets, consisting primarily of the funds that CIBC froze in January 2018 and released after Cotton's death, $25 million. Bank drafts that a contractor of Quadriga had in its custody but had been unable to deposit for some time, $6 million, and funds in the possession of payment processors, $600,000. In addition, Ernst & Young recovered assets from Robertson that it expects to be worth $12 million for a total of $46 million. We did not identify any other assets beyond those identified by Ernst & Young. Let's see. $115 million. Number 2. Trading losses sustained by Cotton on the Quadriga exchange. As described previously, Cotton created and traded fake assets with clients of the platform under aliases. Cotton sustained trading losses of approximately $115 million and used Quadriga's clients' assets to cover those losses. Let's see, $28 million trading losses sustained by Cotton on external platforms. Yeah, we got that already. $2 million. Client funds misappropriated by Cotton for living and travel expenses. Between May 2016 and January 2018, Cotton transferred approximately $24 million of client funds to his and Robertson's personal accounts and to real estate lawyers to buy personal properties. From that amount, Cotton returned $10 million to Quadriga in 2018 while he was unable to fulfill withdrawal requests. Robertson returned assets expected to be worth $12 million to the trustee under an October 2019 settlement, leaving $2 million that was used for living and travel expenses. Other transfers could have been made during the period between May 2016 and January 2018, and transfers could have been made prior to May 2016, but we were not able to determine this due to limited documentation. $1 million is estimated operating losses. Over the life of the platform, Quadriga generated an estimated $45 million in revenue. Our estimate of operating expenses / losses is based on the following known expenses reflected in the limited documentation available. Let's see, revenues. Let's jump here. I don't have the pages here for that, so here we go. $23 million. Number 6, other. Due to the absence of accounting ledgers or records and limited records available from third-party sources, we were unable to identify all expenses or losses incurred by Quadriga. However, additional expenses or losses that are likely significant include the following. Number 1, trading losses sustained on external platforms. Cotton may have incurred trading losses in addition to the losses identified in Note 3 while trading on external platforms. We are aware that Cotton likely transacted on at least 2 other external platforms. However, the information to quantify any additional losses is either incomplete or was not provided to us. Number 2, other fees paid to external platforms. Cotton likely traded on other external platforms, and he may have incurred fees not included in Note 5. Number 3, other fees paid to third-party payment processors. Given the limited time available in records, we were only able to quantify fees relating to 2 third-party payment processors. However, we are aware that hundreds of millions of dollars moved through other payment processors. This likely would have caused Quadriga to incur additional fees, possibly in the range of millions of dollars, assuming a conservative fee rate of 1%. Number 4. Other operating expenses not considered in Note 5. As of 2016, Quadriga was not properly recording expenses. Given the nature of the business, it is likely that other operating expenses were incurred that we could not identify. Number 5. Additional client assets transferred by Cotton for personal use. As discussed in Note 4, Cotton may have misappropriated additional client assets. However, we could not determine whether or not this occurred. So yeah, that's about that. And I don't want to go through regulatory takeaways because honestly I don't believe that regulators would have helped in this case. You know, the biggest problem that we see here is that most of the people that were trading on the platform were under the assumption that Quadriga was in fact a registered and compliant platform. And to some extent that might have been an actual reasonable expectation, especially after 2016. However, the thing is that back when crypto exchanges started, we did not give a fuck if you were registered. We didn't. And as a matter of fact, I still don't. I don't care if you're registered. I don't care if you're fucking regulatory compliant. I don't care if you're paying taxes. It doesn't matter to me. As far as I'm concerned, these are currencies that are outside the purview of any national government, and so therefore outside of their concern. Any kind of complaint to be brought against any party should be solely limited to failure to meet up to one's obligations, contractual obligations, things you agree to, conditions that you agree to. That's about it though. The rest of it, I believe, is in the hands of the developers, the miners, and the users, and the merchants who use them as mediums of exchange. They're none of the purview of the state, none of the business of the state or the feds. They can all go fuck off as far as I'm concerned. Because the fact of the matter is, these guys probably would have operated in the black for an indefinite period of time. But what happened was the regulators started hammering down on them. Started fucking with their banking relationships. And that made it difficult to impossible for them to fulfill on their obligations, whether or not they actually wanted to. And see, that's where I have a problem with it. It could just as well be that they would have worked it out. That, they were 2/3 through their cycle. They were waiting for the payoff into the cycle. They got hammered at the low point. They weren't able to make up for the shortfall because the fucking feds were holding on to their funds, and then they went under. We're gonna see a significant portion of our economy in the United States anyways, suffer the same fate due to the shutdown for COVID, through no fault of the owners of the business at all. They could have had a 100% solvent plan. They could have even been profitable for the year right up until the point where their doors were forced shut by the state government. And of course, the rest of it ensued afterward. They couldn't make their rent because they weren't doing business for that month. They couldn't make their utilities because they weren't doing business that month, and so on and so forth. If this were a crypto exchange, we could have regulators pointing at them and saying, "Oh, it's because you're not running your shit right." No, it's because we're being inhibited from doing business. Just like was the case with Quadriga. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down with some music. I'm going to put a little bit of Meshuggah in Combustion here on Coin Metal. And that was Faith No More with Surprise You're Dead. Ah, yes. And, I'm sure it was a real surprise for a lot of people that were invested in Quadriga when the CEO and I guess pretty much the guy that was running the entirety of the operation supposedly died in India. Well, I don't think he was dead, so, But yeah, it is with that I'd like to draw this episode to a close. Thank you very much for listening. And I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And as far as our last dance is concerned, I hadn't picked anything out. So I'm just going to throw it to the wind here. A little bit of Fear Factory, Corporate Cloning, Last Dance here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent weekend. Good night.